Pivot tables are my favorite feature in all of Excel. We're going to start here. We're going to open a file, use File, Open, choose Project Files, and let's go to Lesson 2 and open the O1 Pivot Tables file. The data set that we're going to be working with in this lesson is about 1,200 rows. We have region, product, date, customer, quantity, revenue, cost of goods sold, and profit. The great thing about a pivot table is that we can summarize this data without using any formulas at all. If you can click and drag, you can create a pivot table. Let's dive right in and create our first pivot table. One of the frustrating things about Excel 2007 is figuring out where they moved the old commands from Excel 2003. Now, pivot table used to be on the data menu in Excel 2003. This is the one I can't figure out. They moved it to the Insert ribbon in Excel 2007. Choose the Insert ribbon. Make sure that you have one cell in your data set selected. And on the Insert ribbon, choose the top half of the pivot table icon. This is actually an icon with a drop down at the bottom and a button at the top. We want to use the button at the top in order to create a pivot table. The first thing that Excel asks us about is where our data is located. Provided that you have no blank columns or blank rows, Excel will guess this correctly, and you can click OK. In the lower half, you can choose whether you want to create the pivot table on a new worksheet or out to the right on an existing worksheet. I'm going to choose New Worksheet, so click OK. Now, if you've used pivot tables before in Excel 2003, you'll notice that this is completely different. One of the things that was very frustrating for anyone who was new to pivot tables in Excel 2003 was they would tend to drag fields to the wrong place. In Excel 2007, Microsoft has changed the paradigm. Rather than dragging fields from the pivot table field list onto the worksheet, they now have you drag fields from the pivot table field list to one of 4 drop zones right in the pivot table field list. Let's create our first pivot table. Let's say that we want to create a summary of revenue by region and product. First thing we do is click the region field. You'll see that the region is added to the row labels area of the pivot table, and we see a unique list of regions in column A of the worksheet. The next thing to do is click the product field. Now, because the product field contains text, it automatically is added to the row labels area of the pivot table field list. In this case, I would like to have the products going across the top of the report, so I'm going to take the product field and drag it from the row labels drop zone to the column labels drop zone. And we have a unique list of products going across row 4. Now we need to add one more field to the report, and that's what we want to total. In this case, we could either choose to total quantity, revenue, or profit. Let's choose revenue. Because my data set includes all numeric values in the revenue field, it's automatically added to the sum values drop zone. Now, if you happen to have a couple of blank cells, or worse yet, a little bit of text in the revenue field, it would be added to the row labels or the column labels area, and you would have to drag it to sum values. Let's take a look at this pivot table. It's an amazing thing. We just summarized 1,200 rows of data without using any formulas at all. If you can click and drag, you can create a pivot table.